couple of years down the road, you are hanging out. You're finally in an okay mood. You know, you've been kind of not feeling too hot lately.
What's wrong with me lately?
So you're kind of taking a break from comedy
Okay.
for medical reasons.
Okay. Like what? What does medical reasons mean?
So recently, you were competing in the funniest person in Dupo contest.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan has opened Mothership, like the Midwest version of it in Dupo. So it's like so it's comedy Mothership Dupo edition. And so they're doing a thing. And so like a lot of comics end up like moving there to work the club because the one that he opened in Austin, it's a little harder to get into. So it's like, oh, we're like the guys on the ground on this one. You know what I mean? So there's a
Yeah,
bunch of
yeah.
comics who have moved there. So
Okay.
it's kind of like this big scene at the moment. And so you're not living there necessarily, like you're still living in LA, but you are considered a citizen of Dupo for life. You actually have a card. They gave you a card that says that. So you're allowed to enter this contest
Okay.
because
I don't
you know what they say,
what?
no one can ever really leave Dupo. So you're like you go back there to compete in this contest. And at first,
I don't want to do that.
the main prize though is like it's a pretty big deal. The main prize is you win 10 grand and you headline excuse me, you headline a weekend there. And it's, that's still, it's considered, even though, it's Dupo, it's considered a pretty big deal, comedy wise. And you've been working on your stuff lately, man. You've kind of realized, some of the happiest at times you've had are doing stand up. And so
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, you know what? Like, I'm going to really kind of lean into it. You were working on a bunch of scripts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you still do, but you're like, I need to kind of focus on uh you're like I really got to sharpen my blade and work on the craft.
No. Come on.
You're
Come
like
on.
because like you're like comedians are like you think to yourself comedians are like the modern day philosophers.
I
It's
don't
like
think that.
you're like the jester was the only one allowed to make fun of the king. You know what I'm saying? You like say this to somebody at a
That
coffee shop.
sucks so bad.
So you're really working on it, man. And so you go back to Dupo to compete in this contest. And and there are a few comics there who are like, well, why is he allowed to enter? He's not because they're not from Dupo. You know what I mean? They all moved there. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's, some angry whispers about you, but you're like, you're basically like, look, guys, I know there's been a little bit of controversy about where I live. And you're like, yeah, I live in Los Angeles. But you go, but whose name is up on that fucking bulletin board? And they're like, huh? And they all look up.
Service award.
Yeah, there's a service award for it says uh Aaron Brooks.
Yeah.
And
I
then
wanted
under
my senior year.
and then underneath it, there's a prize for most burgers eaten at lunch. And it's also you.
Okay. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if I would have won that in the entire school, but I think I could have made a strong showing.
The prize for it was for the next year at Dupo High. The burgers that they served were called Brooks Burgers in your honor. And let me tell you something, Aaron, those were some tasty burgers.
Yeah, they weren't bad looking back.
So you're in dupe. So people are like, all right, he's kind of earned this. You're like, yeah, man, I put in my time. I put in my time in Dupo. And so you do this contest and you end up winning it. However, and you win a bunch of money and stuff, but that weekend that you perform, something is like off. You do 5 shows and you just like eat shit at every single one. And you're
Why?
well, that's the thing is you're trying to figure out and like you can't like course correct or anything like that. And you're like, holy shit, this never happened before. And so you end up and like you kind of have like a pain in your stomach a little bit almost. Well, in your body, not really your stomach. And you go to a doctor, and it turns out that you exerted yourself so much in this contest that you bruised your funny bone, is what
Are
they
you
call it.
fucking kidding me, Pat?
They're like for lack of a better term. And so
Pat,
essentially what it is it's a combination of physical and mental. So you can't do stand-up comedy while it's healing. So you have to take like a break for like, just a few months, let it heal. And so
fucking kidding
so
me.
one thing that you've been doing lately is instead of doing stand-up, you're doing like public speaking. You know what I mean? So you like you give a commencement speech at a clown college.
Great.
You go up there and like the theme of it is like hold on to what makes you happy because it does feel solid, but after a time, it'll be like sand through your fingers. You know, that's kind of like a main thing that you come back to.
Why
And
am I being such like a fucking pompous? Why am I
you're just
why
really,
is everything so significant? Like, why am I doing that?
you just that's just the guy you are.
Oh,
You were just
Jesus.
like
Is it
super
really?
into. I mean, at this point in your life, it's 2 years down the road, and you started really thinking about, the importance of being a stand-up comedian. You're like, you'll talk to people sometimes. You just go, it's like at the end of the day, it's like all this shit that I got to put up with to do this job. At the end of the day, if I just make one person laugh, it's
Jesus Christ.
it's worth it.
This sucks. I suck in this scenario.
Um, and so you're the reason that you're like feeling pretty good is that you know it's gonna arrive today.
You know what is going to arrive today?
There's a knock on the door,
God damn it. What is arriving?
just the mail. Like you hear someone go, "Yeah, we're with Lanalax delivery. Just dropping something off. See you later." They drive away. They drive away. They're blasting. Who let the dogs out? So you walk
This is
to your front door. You're kind of like who along with the song, and you open it, and there's just like a brown like box, and you're like, "Oh, I knew it would come today." And you grab it, and you bring it
God
inside
damn
your
it.
you bring it inside your place.
That's how I say it.
Yeah, your cheeks blush when you say it because you're just so excited. Because Aaron, the latest release from Build a Friend has arrived.
Oh no. Build a friend.
Yeah, so it's by the makers of Build a Bear, where for the past like decade and a half, they've been perfecting this thing. Essentially, what it is it's kind of like Build a Bear, but it's for friends. And so it's like a full size human robot thing, like an android, I guess, that you build yourself, and you can kind of give it its own personality and quirks and stuff like that. And so you're like, yes, you're like super psyched. And so you spend that day putting it together, and you grab it runs on 4 AA batteries.
A whole android, a whole ass android. A life-size, human-sized Android runs on four AA batteries.
It's a very fuel efficient Android.
That's how
And
much is in like my fucking scale, right?
one of the things that Build a Friend can do also is that it can pick you up and tell you how much you
I don't
weigh.
want that. I don't
So
want that at all for my friends.
you got
Don't I don't want that at
you got
all.
no need for that scale anymore, brother. Good
I
news.
am not programming that action into this friend. I don't want it. I don't want that at all. That is not to be an executable task that I can give this robot in the
Yeah,
slightest.
but you don't have to. You're the one who programs it. So
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm going to make sure that's not part of this.
and so you're like, you go into the kitchen and you're like, fuck, you're out of batteries. And so you just kind of like leave it, just kind of like standing in the middle of like your living room. This like Android human thing. It's wearing like it's wearing jeans and it's wearing a t-shirt that says I'm with stupid, and the arrow is like pointed straight up at it. You just thought that was funny. So
Okay.
so you leave. You get your double A, you go down to the store, get your four double A batteries. And it's like kind of a lovely day out, you know? And you decide, you know, it's such a nice day out. I'm gonna have myself what you call an Aaron Brooks sort of Sunday.
Oh man.
That's when you wake up, you go for a little bit of a walk, take an edible, and just sort of like enjoy nature and enjoy your surroundings. And so you
I
do
just
the
get ripped to go on a walk.
yeah, and you do the thing
Okay.
where like every every like 10 minutes you're so stoned that you just forget that you've already taken an edible, so you just take another one. So by
Oh
the time
man.
you're done, you are like blitzed. And so you get back to your apartment and you actually like it's not necessarily that you black out, but you kind of just like forget what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so you end
I'm
up
that high.
yeah, and you fall asleep. You wake up
Oh
the next
boy.
day and sitting in the room with you is your build a friend. When you ordered it, you could like specify like, you know, what you want it to look like and stuff like that. So this guy, he has like shaggy brown hair.
So it's
Like
like a create a player,
yeah.
create a character thing.
And you can continue to modify it. And so he's like, and he goes like, "Hey, good morning, Aaron. It's your build a friend, Friendy 3000."
Gross.
So it turns out
Friendy
that
3000.
yeah, you named it while you were like super stoned and programmed it while you were super stoned. So like you don't even remember like the password that you chose for it or anything like that.
Oh, this is off to a great fucking start.
And so
Great.
you and start hanging out with the Friendy 3000. And and I got to be honest with you, Aaron, like these build a friend people, they know what they're fucking doing because
Yeah.
Friendy 3000 is a reliable friend. If you ask it to give you a ride to the airport, no matter how early, he'll do it. It helps that he doesn't sleep. But so you guys like head out on the town sometimes. You'll take him out to like dinner and stuff like that. You went to this you, you went to this restaurant where the way that it works there is there's this chef who works there. The longer that this man is awake, the better the food that he cooks becomes. So this guy will just be like pounding Mountain Dews as he's cooking like some of the best food you've ever had in your fucking life.
What's his
And
name?
his name is Brutus Malone. And the restaurant is called Big Brutus. So
Gross.
it's and so and his whole thing is because his name is Brutus, like the guy who killed or turned against Caesar or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone who works there is has the name of a traitor. So there's like so like there's like waiters, the waiter there, one of them, his name is Benedict, his name is Benedict, you know.
Ronald
Um
Reagan.
he's there. There's like which is like kind of like a pretty intense political statement, but they don't give a fuck. And Big Brutus, you know. So you guys so you walk in and like the maitre d is there or like the host or whatever, and they're like, hey, good evening, and you go like, hey, how are you, what hour is he on? And they're like, and like he leans in and he goes, hour 65, y'all are eating good tonight.
He's
So
up. He's been up for 65 hours.
yeah, and he makes,
Jesus
you know,
Christ.
you thought that you've had every possible way to eat a steak, but brother, this guy's gonna prove you fucking wrong, you know. uh Friendly 3000, he doesn't eat, he just kind of like sits there, but he hangs out with you and stuff, you know. um it seems like he's programmed to like know sports anal excuse me, sports analysis, trivia, and history. Like if you take this guy to like trivia night, you guys would mop the fucking floor and no one suspects a thing.
Because he looks just like a regular human.
Just like a regular human. And you find that you realize that this thing can do a lot more stuff than you thought it could, than maybe even it thought it could. Like you I guess programmed him to be really, really good at impressions.
Okay. I could see
So
that being something I'd value.
yeah, so like you guys were watching you're watching the original Batman, and it gets to the part where Jack Nicholson is like, you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It gets to that part, and he Friendly 3000, like you look over and his face has like turned into the face of Jack Nicholson, and he goes, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And he goes, you ever dance with it? He does like the whole impression, then it like turns back and he goes, whoa, that was cool. And you're like, holy shit, Friendly. He's like, definitely. So he does stuff like that. Like you guys didn't know that he could do that. Um, there's all kinds of like cool stuff that you guys end up doing. However, it's not like you take them everywhere. There's some stuff that you want to be, your own.
Sure.
You're on a competitive freeze tag team.
It sucks.
And so no, it rules. It's an adult freeze tag league that you're in. And so this is a few years down the road. Freeze tag has made a comeback like you would not believe.
I would not believe it. You're right.
Freeze tag. It's not just for playgrounds anymore, but some people do play it on playgrounds. That's you prefer a more controlled environment. There are some factions of the freeze tag community who will go to playgrounds sometimes while school's in session and play freeze tag with themselves, and like that's considered part of the experience. Is the kids running around not knowing what's going on and like security eventually chasing you away. So, but you don't really get down like that. You
Yeah.
are.
That sounds like a fucking crime. Somebody breaking into school grounds during a school day, playing on a playground with small children around them.
And yeah, you want no part of that. It also helps
No.
that there's this girl on the team that have a little bit of a
Oh
crush
no.
on. So you're like, yeah, I'll just, I'll stick with you guys, don't worry. Her
Come
name
on, Aaron.
her name is Susan Royal. And so and you guys, you kind of become you guys don't really like hang out outside of it. Not yet, at least. You've only been on the team for, a few weeks, but you guys, have a pretty good rapport and stuff like that. But, you don't really know what our life's like outside of freeze tag, you know?
Yeah.
And your team, um, you guys are called the Frozen Taggers.
I
And
hate this.
why?
The frozen
It's
taggers,
yeah, and you guys are, this gets you out of the house. It's an exercise thing, It lets you hang
the
out with
frozen taggers.
yeah, it lets you hang out with more people than just, Friendly 3000.
If
And
this were
also,
a basketball league, our team name would be the Basketballers. That's
th-
how.
yeah, that's actually where you got the inspiration from when you were
Are
growing
you
up.
fucking kidding me?
That was the name of your basketball team. So you were like, you just kind of suggested as a joke, and they were like, "Oh, that rules." So they ended up doing
No,
it.
it doesn't rule.
And your team is pretty good, Aaron. I'm not going to lie to you. You feel like you guys have a chance to get to the championship this year.
Cool, I guess.
Susan Royal is like very excited about it.
Great.
Uh so excited about it that like you guys actually start like texting each other about freeze tag and freeze tag strategies and stuff like that,
Love born from freeze tag. Is that where this is going? This sucks. What
So
a horrible way.
you can well, your funny bone is still healing, So like you got to do something. So
Let's
you go
not even talk about that.
you
My funny bone is
you got 10 grand though, That's kind of
yeah, and
cool.
I bombed for fucking 5 days in my hometown.
Yeah, I mean you're never going to be invited back, but
Yeah,
you got paid.
that's why I don't want to do this shit.
So you go home and Friendly 3000 is sitting on the couch. You come in and you're like, you kind of look at him and you're like, Friendy, we haven't like really tested everything that you can do. We kind of are like discovering stuff when it kind of happens randomly. Let's kind of like work on this. And he's like, sure. And
Is there
you,
not a fucking manual or is there not like a resource?
there's like a manual, but the manual specifies that there are, a few surprises. And so, you see him do stuff like he can like walk up walls and stuff like that and like run around and do all kinds of stuff. And like you look at him and you realize like, holy shit. If we have Friendly 3000 join our freeze tag team, like we will fucking clean up for sure. You kind of have that thought. You look over at him. Do you ask him to join the team?
Seems like cheating.
No.
Also, like, how are people gonna feel when this guy literally runs up a fucking wall? How am I gonna explain that one? Hey,
Well, I
Aaron, your
mean,
your new friend just ran up the goddamn wall, evading us. What the fuck is going on? I'm not. You can't keep that. He will be found out. There will be consequences.
he looks over at you and he goes, Aaron, I think joining your freeze tag team would be a lot of fun. I feel like I could probably, you know, add a lot to it.
That's not the question.
And he
He's
goes,
probably immediately the best freeze tagger on the team
yeah,
because again, he's not human and he can run up the fucking wall.
yeah.
But he will be found out immediately.
He goes, well, I mean, I could program myself to have like certain like limits and stuff like that,
Okay, then let's make him like an elite freeze tag player and bring him on board.
He goes,
Nothing like running up a fucking wall. Just be better than everybody.
he's like, all right, 1 second. His eyes turn black and he's like, rerouting, rerouting, rerouting. Eyes go back to normal. He's like, all right, Aaron, let's do this. So you guys go to freeze tag practice and people are like, who's this guy? Like, who's your friend? You know? And he's like, you guys can call me Ferendi 3000.
He
And they
gives
go,
his robot name.
and they go,
God,
what? And you go, his name's Franklin. And they're like, oh, okay. And so, and he does prove himself to be a very good freeze tag player. People are looking at him like the coach of your of the frozen taggers is this guy Curtis, and he's like, man, I haven't seen moves like that since uh Chuck Baggins. Chuck Baggins is a like legendary freeze tag player from back in the day.
yeah,
This guy had moves inside of moves inside of moves.
a nesting doll of moves. Sounds
Yeah.
like.
It's like he could see everything happening on the field and account for it. You know, he just had remarkable freeze tag intelligence. And that's they're like, yeah, and that's kind of what's happening with your buddy Franklin. They go, man, with this guy on our team, there is no way we're gonna lose. You're feeling really good. You start go to do a checkup with your doctor. You sit down. He's like, Aaron, this is the hardest part of my job. We got the X-rays back, and doesn't seem like your funny bone is healing. He goes, I mean, we'll run some more tests. Obviously, we'll get you back in here, and I don't know, do some blood work or something. He's like, but yeah, just we're fighting for you, Aaron.
Great. Hooray. Are you fucking kidding me?
And then yeah, then he's like, all right, well, I got to get to my next appointment. And they have like fire poles, you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
go from like floor to floor. So he just goes like going down and like jumps on the fireman pole and it takes him down to like a different level, you know.
that sucks.
so
He gives me
so
this devastating news and then gets to go down via fire pole.
yeah, and you hear him go wee.
Fuck this.
So so you leave and like you're feeling like pretty distraught, you know, and you just kind of like go for a walk. You're walking and all these memories of comedy start like flooding back to you, stuff that you've forgotten. And you're sort of like awash in memory. You kind of like enter this farmer's market. You're like walking and you're like thinking to yourself like, "Man, I don't know what it's like to live without a funny bone. It's never even occurred to you." And you're deep in thought when suddenly you just hear "R,"
You fucking kidding me.
and you go, "What the fuck was that?" And you kind of turn
This is who
around.
I think it is.
It's almost like you heard the sound of like a pirate or something.
Yeah.
And you hear down here, boyo.
God damn it.
And you go, what? And you look down and you're there's like this gigantic like bushel of tomatoes in front of you.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, what the fuck? And one of them stands out.
Yeah.
He has like eyes, you know what I mean? And like a mouth. He's got like a long black beard, you know. He's got like one of those like old school pirate hats on him.
Yeah.
And he goes, "R, me name's Tomady, and I want to be your first matey." You go, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Tomady, the first matey, goes on to explain to you that he is part of this like intelligence network called the Tomato Syndicate, and he basically is like
God damn it.
he explains that he can wherever there's a tomato, they can see what's happening, you know,
Yeah.
and he goes, Yar, Aaron, I understand ye funny bone is giving ye problems. He goes, Yar, I can fix it, Aaron. He goes, you just have to do one thing for me,
Well, what the
laddie.
fuck do you want? What the fuck do you want? Just get it over with. What do you want?
He goes,
Talking to a fucking pirate tomato at a farmer's market.
yeah, tomato. He goes, you have to give up your friendo 3000. He goes, an even
What do you mean?
exchange. He goes, I'll heal your funny bone, but your build a friend is not who you think he is. You kind of blink, and then suddenly in front of you are like these like printouts, like photographs, like surveillance of Friendy 3000 like around town, cavorting with some very, very strange characters, criminals, you know, the Coinstar Kingpin, all kinds of stuff. Like he is involved with organized crime essentially. And he goes, we've seen him kill Aaron. This is a man who knows the taste of blood. Yar. What do you do?
I mean, how can I know he's gonna fix my funny bone?
He goes, Yar, the Tomato Syndicate. We are very powerful, Aaron. He goes, we're everywhere. We can do things.
That does not inspire any confidence.
He goes, he goes, check this out. And he kind of like blinks, and then like a bunch of apples just like fucking fall on the ground, and like, they go flying everywhere, and everyone just goes "Whoop," and like trips and stuff. A bunch of them
That
end up
doesn't.
suing that farmer's market for millions of dollars, and they go out of business next year.
Jesus Christ!
He goes, we have powers, Aaron. Yar.
You just assaulted several people. You are an agent of chaos.
He
How
just
do I
he just laughs.
like? Yeah, this doesn't help me at all. I don't need you to pummel my funny bone with an apple that falls from the sky. You're asking me to sacrifice my friend
Yeah.
in exchange for a healing miracle.
Yeah. He goes, will you do it, boyo?
I
Yar.
need, I need some kind of proof other than you just dropping a bunch of apples from the sky.
He goes, all right. He blinks, and you look over, and like a bunch of banana, like like a whole like thing of bananas, like just explode.
No, you need to
People
heal
are
it.
covered
Heal it,
in banana.
heal it, and I'll give him up.
He
But I'm
he
not. You're just showing me fruits and vegetables.
he goes, Yar, our powers come from sacrifice, Aaron. Do the deed and
No,
get ye funny bone fixed.
no, you got to prove it to me first. You know I have him. You know I can turn him over to you. You
Yeah.
know I could do it. I'm not doing it until you fix my funny bone.
He goes, okay, Aaron, if that's how ye want it.
Yeah.
You see him like close his eyes and like concentrate. And you're like, you're like, well, he goes, it's done. And you're like, well, I don't feel that different. And then like you turn, and like this woman walks by, and you go like, you go, excuse me, ma'am. And she's like, yes. And you tell her a joke.
Yeah.
And she just laughs and laughs and laughs. She goes, you should be a comedian, like walks away.
Okay. Then yeah, then I tell Tomady, I tell him where he is. He's not real.
Yeah. You turn to Matey, and you're like, okay, he's and then your funny bone explodes,
Great.
and
Fuck
you go
you.
and you go like, and like the side
Are
of
you
your
kidding
body.
me?
It turns out the funny bone is located on the right side of the body, and like it just like erupts in flame. So like half of your
Great.
body is like on
Great.
fire because you didn't do the. He tried to fix it, you know what I mean? But without the sacrifice, he's like, he goes, Yar, sorry, Aaron. Without the sacrifice needed, he just like fucked the whole thing up. And
Great.
so you end up
How
burning
fucking frustrating.
you end up burning to death, but only
Great.
half of you. Like so you die from, everything, but like only half of you the right side of you is like covered in burns or whatever.
Cool. I don't know what you want me to say to that, Pat. That
They
fucking sucked. That whole
they
thing sucked.
they bury you outside of they bury you on top of the tallest hill that overlooks Depot. It has a really great view of the comedy mothership Depot edition. And on the grave it says uh here lies Aaron. He burned to death.
Great. How fucking frustrating
You
that
should
I
have
died
trusted
because of
him.
Tomato's incompetence.
You should have
Why?
trusted him.
He did nothing to prove. He just dropped apples from the sky and caught a fucking bushel of bananas on fire. What the fuck, Pat?
Shows his power.
Fuck him.